You're listening to Soundside. I'm Libby Denkman. Every week I sit down with another journalist to talk about the news. We try and make sense of the biggest stories of the day and how they are impacting us here in the Pacific Northwest. We call it Front Page. And my guest on Front Page today is, I think, the hardest working woman in local news, Melissa Santos of Axios Seattle. Is there anything you don't cover, Melissa? Thank you so much for being here.
I object. I think that there are people who work just as hard in local news, but I do cover a lot of stuff. That's true.
Hardworking and humble. And we are going to talk about some of the things she's been covering lately, like the Millionaire's tax. And that's our first story on Front Page today.
Who wants to be a lonely millionaire coming home?
I think the millionaires are feeling a little lonely in Washington State right now, so I like that Casey Musgraves song for us to kick us off here. Melissa, I want to get your take on the fallout since the passage of the Millionaire's tax by the legislature last week. There's been plenty of national media coverage. The legislature approved it in the final 24 hours of the session. That bill is now waiting for the governor's signature. He has promised to sign it. Conservatives are livid with this tax. I've been watching some of the editorial boards, the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post weighing in, Wall Street Journal calling it the income tax con, basically making the case that this is not going to end with millionaires, that it's going to be expanded to other income brackets. The Washington Post called it folly and a money grab. Sports media, though, is getting in on its slice of tax policy coverage, too. Seahawks general manager John Schneider was on with Dave Wyman over at 710 Seattle Sports. And he said that this new 9.9% income tax on earnings over $1 million would affect player recruitment. We're going to take a listen to that. He's basically arguing that previous to this, the fact that Washington didn't have an income tax was good when he wanted to get players to come and sign with the Seahawks.
It's always been a huge attraction, especially competing with, the California teams. It's been a big deal for us. So it's going to sting. There's no question about it.
This tax, Melissa, it's almost assuredly going to be challenged in court and at the ballot box. I mean, what stands out to you about the reaction since the bill passed last week?
I do think the sports thing is interesting. Like, he may be right, the Seahawks guy, about that. I do think, though, it could be a little overstated, given that we're one of only, right now, 9 states without an income tax. I mean, once the governor signs it, I guess there'll be only 8. But my point is, there's only, 6 teams or something in those states, really. When I looked, like, there's 4 states that, don't have income taxes that might poach our players or whatever. That's not insignificant, but there's a lot of income taxes in a lot of states, so we're not going to lose them to the Patriots or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Texas is one, Florida is another, Tennessee. But when it comes to competition for sports franchises to attract players, he's talking about competing with California, which makes sense because California's income tax is, historically has been a significant factor. And if a player is thinking about going to the Chargers or something, then he can say, well, Washington, doesn't have that part that it skims off the top. But
yeah, I'm sure it is a factor. I think the biggest thing, though, is that Republicans and a lot of critics of this tax just say it's unconstitutional. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And that's based on case law. We could go super wonky into it, but basically it's a court case that 1933, it's been talked about, I bet, for a lot of KUOW listeners. But
the uniformity clause.
Yeah, it gets really wonky. But I mean, essentially, Democrats are saying it's not actually in the Constitution we can't do an income tax. It's the court and how it interpreted the Constitution. And Republicans are like, it's unconstitutional. So, I mean, that will be a challenge that comes up. It will be challenged in court, undoubtedly. And voters are also going to probably have a chance to try and repeal it. We don't know that they will, but there will be, I'm sure, a ballot measure campaign that comes to try to say, hey, we repeal this tax probably in November.
Yeah, that's almost undoubtedly going to happen. Maybe waiting to see who is going to actually foot the bill for that. I texted Brian Haywood. He hasn't gotten back to me. Brian, still waiting for that answer. I wonder if you're going to be...
Let's Go Washington.
Yeah, Let's Go Washington. Brian Haywood, who's funded a lot of those ballot measure campaigns. Lots of debate on X, I've noticed, too, among the tech community. GeekWire's covered some of this. Basically, people arguing that this is going to dampen entrepreneurship, that... people, not just the tech founders, but if you are an early employee and you're going to, get a good amount of stock that vests and you're able to kind of start to claim that as equity, that will really hurt you eventually because you're going to get a big windfall, and that will end up being taxed by this 9.9% millionaires tax. Some of the other lesser covered arguments I've seen, Melissa, I'm curious if you've heard anything about this, that, this could introduce a marriage penalty for households that combined they make over $1 million. So if you have a couple, a $600,000 income and a $400,000 income and they combine, that people might be incentivized to split up or something for their tax benefits. The other thing is, whether or not this is going to, again, dampen, I think the tech industry thing has been the biggest argument I've seen.
And I think that there is a lot of fear about that. I don't know that we can say for sure how it's going to work. I mean, California has an income tax, like you said. So is Wyoming going to pop up a new tech sector that hasn't been thus far happening? Or, we'll have to see, I guess. I do think the marriage thing is interesting, and that was a huge point for Republicans on the floor of the State House who were saying that was a problem, and also elsewhere. So,
on that record debate that you watched a lot of.
Oh, it was long. It was so long. And the Speaker of the State House I talked to recently, and she's like, "I don't have sympathy for you. You went to sleep for a few hours." I'm like, "I did," but it was a long debate. I tuned in for 17 hours of the 24-hour debate. It was long.
Wow.
Lots of arguments came up during that debate.
So we had some listeners call, and I will say first off, most of the listeners who called in to weigh in on this tax are in favor of taxing millionaires. And I just want to start rolling through and getting your reaction, Melissa, because we have some really thoughtful folks listening. Robin in Seattle says she is in favor of this new tax.
I think when you have a 10.5% sales tax in the city of Seattle, that's ridiculous. Our taxes are way too regressive in Washington. I've been marching for income taxes in Washington for 40 years. I think the people who leave because of the income tax, good riddance.
That argument about the regressive tax code, that we have this larger sales tax burden, which hits working class people more than other states, that is something that Democrats have been saying for a long time.
And they didn't do a general sales tax reduction with the tax, which is a huge criticism. Like, if you're going to balance the tax code by charging rich people more, shouldn't you be lowering that tax burden that this listener was just talking about? They did do some sales tax reductions on targeted items, deodorant, there are more, over-the-counter drugs, diapers. So they did do that stuff, and there's some other stuff. But, it's a fair argument. But there's also the argument that if they're going to do this, then shouldn't they be reducing the taxes by more? I think they've said, there's potential for more tax reductions in the future. The money isn't even here yet. So,
Yeah.
But it's not included in the bill to have broad-based sales tax reduction. So that's a huge criticism of the whole idea.
Yeah, if you were going to make this truly more regressive, that would be part of it. The working families tax credit stuff was in the bill, but that's not the same as reducing the sales tax.
I mean, it is a sales tax rebate, but you get a maximum of $1,300 if you're a lower to middle income family, a maximum. So that's not as much as, it's not nothing, of course. And
Yeah. Beth in Gold Bar says, as a small business owner, she is in favor of taxing millionaires. She responded to the threat that millionaires say they are going to leave.
I'd like to know, what did they contribute to begin with? Our homelessness has skyrocketed, is out of control. Our roads are deteriorating. Our bridges are going down. And as a business owner myself, I was ecstatic to build my own business up to the point where I finally was earning six figures, only to realize that 30% is going to my taxes, and almost 30% goes to the health care for my family as individuals not able to buy a group plan. It's outrageous that I pay more than all of these people in my taxes. I understand that's a national problem, but we can only start where we can start, which is at a state level. Absolutely tax the millionaires.
So Beth is acknowledging, she's paying federal taxes there, what she's talking about, but that the state can maybe take a bite out of that. Here's Mike from Hadlock, who argues also taxing the rich makes sense.
There's a lot of millionaires that actually do want to tax themselves and their fellow millionaires. And the idea is they benefit from government services quite a bit more than some of us. Having education helps business.
I haven't seen a whole ton of millionaires stepping forward to say, yes, tax me. There's been a couple, but that is the argument here, that there are altruistic millionaires. Maybe that's not the right word for them, but there are people in our state who make a lot of money who are going to sit on the sidelines, not fight this tax because they think, yeah, that's okay, that I would have to chip in a little more.
I mean, I do think it's popular, more popular than some of the detractors might believe. This isn't 2010 when Washington voted down an income tax. That had a lower threshold, to be clear. It was like $250, $1,000. This is $1 million, so it's different. But the politics has changed. Taxing the rich is more popular now. We retained our capital gains tax when it went to the ballot. So the Democrats are responding to that, saying this polls at like 60%. You know what I mean? So they're thinking they can get through a ballot measure campaign. And the rich guys may not want to be throwing their money at something that may very well be upheld at the ballot box.
Yeah, and they are looking at what happened with that capital gains tax repeal effort failing even in conservative counties in Washington state and thinking that this is the moment when the politics have changed. There's been a tipping point on taxes. Larry in Gig Harbor was our listener who called with the least amount of enthusiasm for this tax. Larry says he is worried about the new income tax expanding past millionaires to eventually hit his family.
I wouldn't exactly say it's a bad idea, but I would say that it is kind of scary for somebody that, like myself, along with my wife, the income is probably around half of that, of what maybe 500,000, 600. So, we're not quite there, so it really wouldn't affect me personally, but I can say this, that I know people that make that and they're not happy. So I don't know. I would think that it's a slippery slope. So
Larry voicing again that concern that the Wall Street Journal did, and I'm assuming a lot of the Republicans in the legislature said, which was this will not stop at millionaires.
That was something I heard probably 1,000 times. I swear, I'm not joking, on the floor that during that debate. That was a huge argument that they're saying it won't stop at millionaires. And I can't predict the future. But it may be expanded. I mean, it could be. It's not an unreasonable.
In other states, they have expanded their income taxes even when they start on the high income bracket.
They did not put it in a constitution or something. They did to make sure that the income always stays at $1 million and adjusted for inflation. So it could be adjusted technically. Yeah, sure.
Here's a caller that you might know the name of. Peter Steinbrück called, the architect and former city councilman. He's basically saying, the taxes should affect people like Larry. He doesn't like this tax because he thinks it doesn't go far enough. It should have been broader. There's Peter Steinbrück.
I don't believe that this is real tax reform. I don't believe it's progressive in that it excludes people earning significantly large incomes such as $250,000 or more from being taxed on their income. A tax on the rich, yes, but it excludes the lion's share of very wealthy, affluent people in the state of Washington. So it's not progressive. In some ways, it's even regressive and will set us back with regard to any real state-level reform of our absolutely regressive tax system that hurts disproportionately the poor and everyday people.
That was an interesting argument, basically saying that this is not a true rebalancing of the tax code. And by taking this bite in this way, the legislature is putting off and maybe forestalling permanently a larger and more complete rebalancing. What do you think about that, Melissa?
I think this was done with an eye toward the ballot box, period. They pulled millionaires tax. It did well. I mean, talking to legislators before the session started, they were anticipating the ballot measure campaign. They'd done the polling. They're thinking about what what did not pass in 2010 did reduce other taxes. It would have reduced property taxes and business taxes, and it tried to do that. And I think they just think this will stick. And I think that's what this is about, really. I think this particular messaging they think it will work.
Yeah, and something that was more broadly applied, it just wasn't probably going to stand up to, or they couldn't count on, Democrats couldn't count on it passing the ballot challenge. That's interesting. You're listening to Soundside. I'm Libby Dankman. Melissa Santos is here with me for Front Page. It's where we sit down and talk about the news, talk about how these stories affect us here in the Puget Sound region. Thanks to all of our callers, by the way. It's really great to get to hear from people who weigh in every single day on Soundside, but especially on this story. We just had a huge response. We couldn't get to all the calls, so I really do appreciate everybody who weighed in. If you want to call, 206-221-3213 is the number to leave us a voicemail, 206-221-3213, or email us at soundside@kuow.org. On to our next story on Front Page.
We're coming back. It's going to happen.
In our lifetime?
It's in our lifetime. In my lifetime. We're going to have to do it.
That's Sonics legend Gary Payton talking to a sports news outlet I've never heard of. It's called The Score. It seems to be mostly social media based, but it was just in December. Gary Payton saying the Sonics are coming back in our lifetime to Seattle. And Melissa, that is starting to seem like it could be sooner than you might think. I'll just read ESPN's Shams Charania's reporting here. The NBA is going to hold a vote at the Board of Governors meeting March 24th and 25th. That's Tuesday and Wednesday of next week to explore adding expansion teams exclusively in Las Vegas and Seattle, with the two franchises targeted to start playing in the 2028-2029 season. This is according to sources who spoke to ESPN. And there is momentum for stakeholders to approve. I mean, you and I both covered when the Sonics left in the first place.
Keyword explore, okay? I'm not getting too excited at this moment. Like, this is a step, but this is the kind of thing that Adam Silver, the NBA, I mean, you know, what is it? NBA commissioner has been saying, like, talking about Las Vegas and Seattle as good options. I mean, this is a more formal step to explore, but like, it's like creating a task force. I don't know, man.
So what I'm reading from ESPN is basically this is going to be, it's going to have to be 23 out of the 29 or 30 owners of the league. They're going to vote to say, okay, you can explore this. Then they can start to take bids from ownership groups that would pay between $8 and $10 billion for a new team. So to even see if there's an ownership group out there who can step forward and bring a team to Vegas and Seattle. Then there's another vote. And if that goes forward, then this whole thing actually starts rolling and the team could come back. This is, though, I mean, I understand your skepticism.
It's a big step. I say it's a big step.
But we have been burned before, is what you're saying.
I just, I think that after all the Chris Hansen, like this arena, like this is a lot of stuff going on in the history of this that makes, every Seattleite who heard the former mayor talk about the Sonics in almost every speech and be like, okay, makes you a little skeptical, right? It's probably it looks like it's closer than ever. I'll say that.
Yeah. We'll believe it when we see it. We'll keep an eye on what happens there. Our last story for Front Page, though, we got to get to this one. There were a couple of cool firsts at the Oscars yesterday in the cinematography category and Best Song. That was Golden from the Netflix smash hit K-pop Demon Hunters. Singer-songwriter EJ accepted the Best Song Oscar. Here she is.
Growing up, people made fun of me liking K-pop, but now everyone's singing our song and all the Korean lyrics. I'm so proud.
It's the first ever K-pop song to win in that category. It was a foregone conclusion. Everyone knew this was going to be like the lock for the Oscars because that's such a huge smash hit. I know that you are a K-pop Demon Hunters fan, right, Melissa?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about it getting this kind of... It also won, by the way, the movie won Best Animated Feature.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, wasn't this like the only K-pop fake girl group ever to top the Billboard 100? I mean, that's a wild thing to have happened. I know the Oscars are a different metric here, but, I think that it's a pretty incredible story. You have, someone who was, EJ, this figure who was speaking just now, was in a K-pop like trainee thingamadoo. It didn't quite work out for her.
She was in the system of these K-pop bands
K-pop
where
idol.
They kind of have a machine that trains them.
It's wild how that works. But yeah, it was just sort of to become a K-pop idol. Didn't go the way maybe that she wanted, and she went into writing songs, and then here has this huge platform for success, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, really heartfelt speech as well, although her one of the co-writers, got played off in a really brutal way by the Oscars production staff, the orchestra, which I will say, let the guy finish his speech. I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I don't care if the Oscars goes long. The other big win was Autumn Durald Arkapaw, who won for cinematography, the first woman ever to win for cinematography. Yeah. Absolutely mind-blowing. And the thing that I love about her is, her and Ryan Coogler agreed to film Sinners in IMAX, the Ultra Panavision 70 IMAX. And apparently these cameras are so heavy that it's very unusual, not just for a woman to operate them, but for one person to operate them. And so she was able to do that. She's also the first woman of color, first woman. She was the first woman of color to even be nominated and first woman to win. So it's so great to see the Oscars still making those firsts. And I don't know. What better way to wrap us up here, Melissa, than to go out with a little bit more golden. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I was a ghost, I was alone. To watch it, guess I'm scared. Given the throne, I didn't know how to believe. I was a queen that I'm meant to be. Two lights, trying to play both sides, but I couldn't find my own place. Man, little child, back to wild. Now that's how I'm getting paid. Now till stay. I'm done hiding, now I'm shining like I wanna be. We dreaming, oh, we came so far. Now I believe we're going up, up, up. It's our moment. You know we're glowing, gonna be golden. Up, 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 in our voice. You wanna get us so often. Gonna be golden. I'm done hiding, now I'm shining like I wanna be. Our time, no fears, no nights. That's who we wanna be. You know we're gonna be golden. We're gonna be wanna be golden. We're giving the melody. You know that it's our time, no fears, no nights. That's who we wanna be.
Thanks for listening to Soundside. Don't forget you can listen live on KUOW 94.9 FM Seattle at noon and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, or anytime online at KUOW.org or on your favorite podcast app.